Welcome back, everybody. Today we are looking at a tire that I don't remember buying. I found it last night. I don't remember where I got it. Judging by the tire, I think I got it probably from either Amazon or maybe AliExpress. But it is called a Sawtooth rocks tire. And I will do some digging through my order history and put some information about this tire in the description, because I know nothing about it other than it's called Sawtooth rocks tire. It came from somewhere where you can buy no-name cheap tires, and because of that, I'm sure it was between between $20 and $30 for a set of 4 of them. Inside the Sawtooths today, I am running Crawler Innovation Little Nova wides, dual stage foams. And I gotta say, although in your hand the Sawtooths do not feel like an exceptionally sticky compound, the carcass is not obnoxiously thick, and on the little trail that I take to get down here to my course, not that it's a difficult trail, but they kind of did a little better than I thought they would do. And right now on the side hill, man, we are sticking it. We're on the more difficult low line. Very little to no side slide. Oh my goodness. This is really good side hill performance. Let's see if we can get the turn up. Ooh, that partially is a little driver error. I got a little overzealous with the throttle. My driver's side, or my passenger side front, is starting to lift. I need to set that back down. Let's go straight. See if I can set that down. There we go. Ooh. There's a rollout. A little bit driver error, a little bit of tire, I think. We'll do it again, see. We can get around these weeds grow up here, and the stock on them is pretty robust for being so thin, and sometimes they're really hard to drive over. All right, let's take that low line again. Okay, there's the side slide. Ooh. Now it's like a different tire. Did I get lucky the first time, or am I getting unlucky? Oh, we're dragging. Oh, it's not attached to anything. That shouldn't matter. I was going to say we're dragging one of those weeds, but at first I thought it was still attached, but it's not. Attached to the ground, I mean. All right. I'm seeing more side slide than I saw the first go around. It's still not awful, but that passenger side that suspension on the passenger side is pretty much unloaded. Ooh, that rear sliding now. It's going to cause an issue. Need to get that rear off that crack so I can start turning up. Right now, I need it to pivot. Come on, rear end, pivot. No, I need you to pivot without sliding the front end. Let's turn in sharper. There we go. There we go. You know, that's... Ugh. Now that front is sliding. Now we're just pushing. Come on, give me the pivot. Now we're pushing a little more than we're steering. Definitely doesn't seem to be the most responsive tire. There's the pivot. There's some lug noise. Not necessarily indicative of anything, but pretty common with cheap rubber compounds. Quite a bit of body noise. This tire doesn't advertise. It advertises that it's only 4.72 tall. Although it is wide. It's 1.9 inches wide, which is pretty wide for a class 2 tire. And we are also on some wide offset bead locks, so a little bit of rubbing from that front end, nothing too bad. You know, so far, this tire is really not bad. The lug pattern is very much an all-terrain lug pattern. Not dissimilar from like a BF Goodrich all-terrain TA. I mean, it's not a copy of that, but I think it's modeled similarly off of that, or maybe like a Goodrich, was it their mud terrain TA? Not a dissimilar tire. Again, it's not a clone of anything. It's not a copy of anything, but I would say the lug design is definitely inspired by one of those. Overall, side hill performance is pretty strong. A little bit more side slide than I thought initially, but really not bad. I mean, I've seen tires that cost a hell of a lot more do a hell of a lot worse. So side hill performance, that's a pass. Walking down here, I'm noticing the steering is a little off to the right. I don't know whether I need to adjust my trim. What I need to do is I need to look at my steering and drag links. I bet you the rod ends, I bet you the balls have worn out the rod ends and they're loose in there. All right. Can we slow walk the slick rock? Kind of, but a lot of slide back. Honestly, they're doing better than what the swamp claws did on this obstacle. But ultimately the same result. Yeah, we're going to need to replace front rod ends and drag all the rod ends in the front end pretty soon. Got a lot of slop from the balls having worn out the holes in the rod ends. It's not terrible yet, but I think next time I do maintenance, I'll go ahead and address that. What keeps happening here is we keep tipping and then I can't right it. Just gets in there just the right way, and this is one of those obstacles that you kind of gotta take a specific line onto it. You don't get a lot of wiggle room in the way you come on. But then it goes right there, and now it's just going to want to come sideways. And if I back up and we run there we go. Okay, let's take this line, which is usually harder. Let's see what it does. Now we're just going to slide off to the side, which is why it's harder. It's pretty common. All right, let's try it with a little wheel speed. Can't get up that way with wheel speed. Let's try this way with wheel speed. Nope. It's not the way I want on. This is very indicative right here of a cheap tire. Cheap tires always struggle on this obstacle. This is not our most difficult obstacle, I wouldn't say, but it is our slickest rock. And the Sawtooths, not doing good here. Even with wheel speed. So it's one of those obstacles, I think if I stayed here all day and played on it, I could get it. But it's going to be more of a, trial and error than it is a repeatable task. So we're going to call that a fail. I'll give tires a few tries on an obstacle because sometimes, as I've said before, sometimes you have to find the tire's line on an obstacle. But if it gets to the point to where it's like that, like I said, sometimes it's just because a tire can eventually do something. If it's not something that would be fairly consistent and repeatable, then I call it a fail. Oh, I've never seen anything struggle right here. Oh, we got up. And we got up easy enough to where it would be repeatable, but so far, I liked the side hill performance well enough. I mean, it was decent side hill performance for sure. Nothing that blew me away, but I guess surprising. But since then, it's been very much, that was about a driver error. Since then, it's been very much typical $20 tire territory. tire rack is due for some maintenance. So we'll get that rod end situation sorted out probably between this day and the next time I come out here. I'll have new rod ends on the whole front end. Rear end rod ends are all pretty new because it's got high clearance links on the rear. Yeah, no issues there. Got up there nice and easily. So what I need to start doing is remembering to stay over here for this portion so that I can actually see, because when I move, this right here gives me struggles because you got to get your tire positioned right, and you got to see. I keep moving first and then trying to do it from where I can't see, and it makes it a lot harder. But although it's not the most capable rig in my fleet, Tire Rack is by far the most driven rig in my fleet. It's got hundreds of hours on it already. And every time we do tire reviews, I add more. Basically, if you watch a video that is 25 to 30 minutes long, it probably took me twice that to shoot it, because there's a lot of walking around between obstacles. Sometimes I have to reshoot things. Sometimes I screw up the camera, or I just, especially since I've started using this chest rig, I like recording on this chest rig, but sometimes I don't realize that I don't have something in the shot until I look down and I realize, oh, I haven't been recording it. Or I've pressed the pause button and forgot to resume or something stupid. So between my errors and then just moving around and repositioning and stuff, however long the video is you watched, it usually took me twice that long to record it, which means the rig was driving for at least almost twice that long. And I drive this rig a fair amount off camera. So it's definitely, it is not the most capable rig, but it is my most familiar rig. So I can do a lot of things with this truck that I can't do with more capable trucks. Or maybe it just seems like it's not that I can't do it with more capable trucks, but it's just as easy to do with this truck. And a lot of that is just because I'm so familiar with it. And I know, especially when I have certain tires on it, the tires, like it's kind of daily driver tire as a Durtrax Fossil right now. Once I wear those out, I think that's going to change. But when I really know a tire and I really know the truck, it makes it a lot easier to drive. And the reason I want to bring that up is because sometimes we get obsessed with upgrading or building a new rig or doing something. And sometimes all you really need is experience. And I don't mean necessarily that you just need to do this for years, because I know some people, and don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here telling you I'm the best driver, or I'm the most capable driver or anything. That's not at all what I'm trying to say. There's a lot of people out there who are a lot better at me than driving, who know a lot more than me. So I'm not trying to sit here and tell you that I'm this expert and lay down all this knowledge. That's a pretty good pull up there too. Again, these are surprising me on most obstacles. But what I'm trying to say is, if you go buy an RTR, you buy a SCX 10, a base camp, or even a 10-2, if you still can, I think you can still get deadbolts and stuff. You buy one of those, you buy an Element, you buy a TRX4, and it's not doing stuff you want it to do. Now, I'm not telling you shouldn't upgrade anything. This rig has some upgrades. But sometimes upgrades aren't what you need. It's time behind the wheel that you need. And my point is, I can wheel this rig better than I can wheel a lot of rigs that are more capable than this rig. And that's because I have hundreds of hours behind this transmitter and that rig. And now it's to the point to where, aside from tires, I don't love making changes to this rig. The most recent thing I've done to it is I switched from a Hobbywing Fusion SE, a 1200 kV SE, and I put a Fusion Pro in it, which is 2300 kV. And I did that because I wanted the capability of having more wheel speed on trails, because I do intend on kind of starting a new series where I take a tire that I've already reviewed and just do a trail review for it. And so, That's bad. So I wanted more wheel speed, and I was already kind of at the pinion limitation on how large I could go with that pinion before I started losing torque on the 1200 kV motor. So I stepped up. Kind of wish I would have put a Fusion SE 1800 in it. Not that I don't like the Fusion Pro, but it's taken me some time to get used to. And I guess my point is, even with this rig, when I make a change to it, in some ways it's like driving a new rig, and I have to learn how to redrive it. And again, that's just to say, sometimes the right thing to do is get used to something, not necessarily replace it. I know some guys that, you know, they love the tinkering and the building part of the hobby as much as they do the crawling part, which, I mean, I do too. But they have a few rigs that they can't ever just leave alone. They're always doing something to it. They'll put a new motor in it, and the motor's perfectly fine. They like it, but then somebody else releases a motor. One guy, for example, he had a Holmes revolver in it. Loved it. It was one of their newer revolver M's, which is not that old of a motor. Ooh, are we going to pull on here slow? I thought we were. Slow pull up, but now we're not going to make it any further. Definitely going to have to wheel speed this guy. Ooh, this sounds like tires screeching on asphalt. Ugh, definitely not good here. That's not really what I want. I want higher up. These sound... Let me shut up. How weird. Okay, well, that was a pass. But that was kind of a weird performance. Like, at first it looked like it was going to do nothing. And then it kind of walked it without issue, but I didn't really have to hook the side lug. I just hooked the edge of the, like, the main contact patch was just on the edge of the rock. But I don't know if you could hear it. When it was spinning, it sounded like just regular tires on asphalt. Like a... anyway. What? Oh, no. Come on. That wasn't driver error. Well, it was, but it wasn't. I positioned the rig a little wrong, but that sidewall collapsed a lot. I believe I'm running 4.5-inch size crawler innovations in here instead of 475s, and it needs a 475s because I didn't actually measure the tire. I went off of what the sidewall said, which says 472. These are not a 472. These are probably a 48. This doesn't sound like a big difference, but it is. Anyway, what I was saying was he had a Holmes Revolver M, which they've only had that M series for a couple of years. And then Three Brothers released one of their newer motors, the Black Jacket, I think, and he put one of those in it. Okay, rear diff hang up. Am I on camera? Yeah. Rear diff hang up now. And this tire is tall enough to where, there we go, there's the hang up. Can we pull it off? Yeah. That's not bad. Maybe I'm getting it backwards. Maybe he had, this is what he had a Three Brothers Yellow Jacket. Then Holmes released the Revolver M, and they did one of their special editions or their team editions or something, and it was purple. So we bought that because it was purple. And then he took that out and put a Black Jacket in, I think, because it was censored, and I don't know. He puts a new motor in it like every 6 months, and he likes all the motors that he's putting in, and it's not like he's searching for something. He just likes to upgrade. But then the problem is he never really has a good feel for it. And he's admitted this before. And so you want to be careful when it comes to upgrades is what I'm trying to say. It's not that you shouldn't upgrade. And I'm not saying that, oh, you can take any, $10 brushed motor and put it in here, and it'll do just as capable as anything else. I'm not talking bad about the upgrades or the upgrades he made, but if you put quality components on a rig, getting familiar with that rig is going to do you better than swapping out components. Yeah, I do not believe we're going to get on here. Well, oh, are we? Yep, we are. Okay. Ooh, slide back. Okay. This is going to take a very specific line. Now, we have this entire rock face to work with, but I'm going to try to be quiet, and I'm going to try to have you listen because I could hear that rubber squealing sound, but it's not very loud, so I'll shut up. Okay, no rubber squealing sound because we actually were able to walk up that with kind of minimal wheel speed. They're holding now, but now are we able to dismount with wheel speed? Yeah, but that was almost major driver error. Goodness gracious, you know, not bad. 12:03. So I've been out here for a little over an hour. This review's almost done. So I've got 2 videos shot in an hour. This one so far we're at 22 minutes. I don't remember what the other one's total length was. It was about 25 minutes, I think. So that's about right. So maybe not quite double. Like I was saying earlier, you know, if a video takes me 20 minutes if a video is 20 minutes long, it takes me 40 minutes to record. Maybe I was a little off on that, but good Lord, now we're doing terrible. The Tyre finds traction when I don't think it's going to, like right there. And then when I don't think it's going to have issues, it struggles. Which I suppose that's something you would get used to, but for a first drive, makes it pretty unpredictable. Loose surface traction is terrible. Terrible loose surface traction. This might be the worst loose surface tire I've tested. Let's go slow. That's really bad. All right. Well, not one of my favorite tires for sure. Shockingly, it did better than I expected it would do, but ultimately, I wouldn't run these on anything. Now, they are very inexpensive. Like I said, I'll put in the description what they actually cost, but I'm sure it wasn't more than $30 for the set. Probably cheaper than that, and for a trail tire, they'd be decent. They can do some rock crawling stuff, but there's a lot of tires that are relatively in this price range that'll do a lot better. If you really like the look of the tire, if you want something that has white letters on the sidewall, they are just painted, so they'll probably rub off at some point. But you know, if you like the width, the height, the lug design, and everything, they're okay for trails. They'll do okay on rocks. Again, keep in mind I'm on sandstone here, so your results may vary if you're crawling on slicker rocks, but we dealt with a couple of slippery rocks and you saw how it handled them, which wasn't well, if you can't recall. So anyway, I don't love the Sawtooths. They'll end up in the giveaway bin, but they could be worse. Have a good one, everybody.